What is happening, sports fans? It's your main man, Matt from the DFS 5-pack. I'm rocking it solo. It is Friday, April 8th. We got 5 MLB games to talk over. The early slate is off and running. The Red Sox-Yankees game is 3-3 in the 5th. And the White Sox are beating the Tigers 3-0 in the bottom of the 4th. So, or no, in the top of the 5th now, actually, too. Both games in the 5th inning. So yeah, both 2 5-game slates today. I'm going to make this video members only free to the public just for time's sake. Got a little busy this morning. Got the write-up out for the early slate. The write-up will be out for our members about normal time for the main slate. Yeah, excited to get on here and talk some MLB. Before I do that, I'm going to shout out our promoters, ABC Islands. If you haven't checked them out, go ahead and do so. The link and the promo code will be in the description section. I love betting on MLB. It's my bread and butter, so let's get after it this season, guys. I'm always here for questions. Sign up for the DFS 5-pack. We're gonna have more betting content once Patriot gets back to himself. So yeah, excited to get after it with you guys, and we got a nice 5-game slate to start tonight. So let's get it. Let me screen share this, and we'll be on our way. Alrighty, so as far as pitching options go, Max Scherzer looks like the top option by far. Going back to Washington, he's elite. One of the best pitchers in baseball. Not sure you can call him best anymore, but one of the best pitchers, if nothing else. So he looks like an easy play in all formats. I think Mania is interesting. Doesn't look like he's getting a ton of love. Arizona with a comeback win last night. This Arizona lineup is a little bit frisky, so I get why he's getting less love than Barrios and Morton. Barrios facing Texas. Texas with a new lineup. Added Corey Seager, added Marcus Semien. It's not like the rest of that lineup really scares you, though. So Barrios at home, he looks good here, and so does Morton. The Reds, I guess kind of like the Rangers, have some pieces, but it kind of falls off at the bottom. I think Morton and Barrios both look real good here. If you want to, spend down and fade Scherzer, Barrios and Morton are both wildly in play. I think you're going to see a lot of people pick one of those guys and pair them with Scherzer. Makes a lot of sense. Mania is kind of a GBP pivot off any of those guys. San Martin, I don't know. I mean, he pitched good towards the end of last season. I don't really think this is a spot I want to go to him in Atlanta. It's just a matter how much Braves exposure do you want. Josiah Gray, we saw flashes from him throughout last season. Got traded over to the Nationals in the Corey Seager or in the Trey Turner, Trey Turner and Max Scherzer deal. I think he's in play in tournaments, if nothing else. Ross Detmer's insane that he's the Angels, starter on their second day. Houston stack looks really good. They're getting a lot of love, deservedly so. Merrill Kelly is more solid than spectacular. I could see if someone wanted to use Kelly, I could see that. If someone wanted to stack San Diego, I could see that. If you just wanted to stay away from it, I could see that as well. So I don't have any strong feelings toward based on ownership. I kind of like San Diego. They were chalk last night, let down, but I could get on board with either side, to be quite honest. And then John Gray, he's getting a lot of love, and that's interesting. I think it's a price thing. He's out of Colorado. Tough spot in Toronto. Because of price tags, it looks like John Gray's getting quite a bit of love, and the Toronto Bats, while they'll still be popular, aren't coming in with as much ownership as a few other teams on this slate. So that's something to note for sure. On paper, Gray is just way too cheap at 5,400. All right, let's talk about some bats. So Garver is one of the better hitting catchers in baseball. Tough spot against Barrios. If I'm stacking the Rangers, I certainly want him. If not, probably not where I get. I think d'Arnaud looks really good here. Hitting 7th for a loaded Braves lineup. Let me see one thing real quick. So I take back what I said about most people are just going to pick one of Barrios or Morton, because it looks like John Gray is right in there as well. So it's going to be Gray, Scherzer, Barrios, and Morton eating up basically all of the SP ownership. You can use any of the other guys to be different. James Mccann looks like the highest owned catcher again. Catcher's pretty weak tonight. Nothing to love here. Interested to see what the Padres do with their lineup. Austin Nola led off last night. He's my favorite option if he's leading off again tonight. As I mentioned, d'Arnaud. Not sure we'll have any really cheap options, but we'll have to wait and see what when the rest of the lineups come out, what we've got to work with. All right. 1 second, guys. All right. So, yeah, catcher's pretty weak today, but that's, not out of the, that's pretty normal, I should say. All right, first baseman. So, first base loaded, unlike catcher. Ohtani is amazing. He's always going to be one of the top options. He's expensive. I love Vlad in a Blue Jays stack. As I mentioned, the Blue Jays are going to be under-owned, not only because they're expensive, but because John Gray is getting a lot of ownership. So I like the idea of getting as much Toronto as I can. Matt Olson looks elite here. He crushes lefties. He crushes bullpens. A lot to like about him. We'll have to see if Pete Alonso is in the lineup tonight. Wouldn't be surprised either way. Gurriel crushes lefties in a matchup against Detmers. He's a solid look for sure. If you're looking to spend down a little bit, Eric Hosmer, don't hate him, but certainly don't love him. Brad Miller leading off against Barrios. You could do worse at 3,100. I mean, presumably we'll get 4 at-bats at least, so 3,100, nice filler piece, especially if you're not using Barrios. Definitely looks like a position I'd like to spend up on, though. Vlad being my favorite tournament option. I think Olson's probably the guy in cash games. Let me just check ownership. It looks like Alonso. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any one crazy chalk guy, but Olson is the guy I'd probably go with in cash. At second base, clear option here is Robinson Cano, who is still 2,400 now. 2,400 Cano. So, assuming he's in the lineup, he was solid last night. There's no reason he should be this cheap ever. So he looks like the best play on paper. Love Altuve in a Astro stack. He looks great here. The Astros overall just look very good. Albies crushes lefties leading off tonight. Like him a lot. If I'm stacking the Braves, I want him. Simeon and GPPs drops off a bunch after that. Biggio in a Toronto lineup. Arcia to get different, if you're looking to spend down and maybe you're not using Albies in that stack, although more likely to use him at shortstop for sure. Cano looks like the clear guy on paper, though, like for sure. Alrighty. Third baseman. Machado was chalky last night. Didn't do much. I like going back here in a Padres stack. Not going to get a lot of love. Expensive today. And in a worse spot. And they let people down. Austin Riley homered. I imagine he's going to be very popular here at third base. Does look like Machado's getting love. I don't buy it, though. I think Riley and Bregman both get more love than Machado here. Bregman homered last night. Riley homered last night. Machado is in probably a worse spot, and he's more expensive. So I think both those guys get more love. Matt Chapman in a Blue Jays stack, yes, please. Moustakas is just way too cheap. I know he got at least one hit last night, and he just should never be that cheap. Third base looks like a pretty top-heavy position with potentially Moustakas as a spend-down option. If J.D. Davis makes the Mets lineup, sure. I like the idea of Toronto, though, and Matt Chapman. Really cheap for his upside. All right, shortstop. Bo Bichette, Toronto, love him. Corey Seager making his Rangers debut. I like Barrios more than I like the Rangers here, but I'm sure most people will feel that way. And if I'm stacking the Rangers, I definitely want Seager. No thanks on Escobar at 5K. Lindor, yeah, wildly in play. In a Met stacker as a one-off. Swanson in that Brave stack probably won't get a lot of love. He's expensive. He's hitting 8th. I think between him and Orlando Arcia, you can definitely get exposure here. And I can guarantee you that most people will not use both of them and fade Albies. So I wouldn't do that either in an optimal line, but if I'm stacking them a bunch of times, I don't mind doing that once or twice. Jeremy Payne was awful last night, but better spot tonight. Don't mind him at all. Again, faced Ohtani, so tonight he's facing Ross Detmers. I like going back to Pena in the stack for sure. I assume we'll be right back in there. Again, a little bit tough because there's some later games you have to wait on lineups, but Lindor looks like the cash game guy. I like Bichette in tournaments. The Braves guys, and then Pena. All right, outfielders. Talked about Ohtani, always in play. Soto, you can play as a one-off any day of the week. Today being no exception. Excuse me. Mike Trout, same thing. I'm sure he gets some love here because he's Mike Trout. If you're stacking the Mets, I think you want Starling Marte. He actually has always hit righties better than lefties, so that's worth noting. Springer and Teoscar hard to get to, but I like them in Blue Jay stacks because of that reason. They're hard to get to. Tucker and Jordan homered last night. Yeah, both those guys look really good here. Both of them crush lefties. Maybe their ownership's depressed a little bit because of the matchup. Both the Braves guys. Outfield's pretty loaded here. You're going to have to pick and choose where you want to go. Ozuna at 4K looks great. I imagine he's going to get love. He looks like the chalkiest outfielder on the board. Him and Nimmo. Nimmo must be probably, I don't know. We'll see if he's in the lineup leading off or whatever, but if he is, he'll get love. Yeah, I mean, I never mind getting the bottom of lineup. So if you're, stacking the Angels, Brandon Marsh, I mentioned Biggio already. Talked about Brad Miller leading off. So there's going to be quite a few places to go in the outfield. I'm sure there's going to be some cheap guys too. Don't have many lineups out yet, so still waiting on them. But wanted to get this out for you guys. Yeah, that's what I got for you guys. Only a 5-gamer. We'll be back with hopefully more of a full slate tomorrow. I haven't looked at it yet, but it might be split again. It's Saturday. So first week of the season is always funky like that. And yeah, if you want more info, more content, any of that stuff, go check out the DFS 5-pack. We'd love to have you. I love MLB, so let's continue crushing and see y'all tomorrow.